we start the letters, then we try to follow the logics and sentence structure by logic, right? But this time, this is today and next week, and I want to introduce a different way that you need to see the Bible, study the Bible. That's my purpose. So everything is just don't even know the genres, and then rhetorical the character. So if you do that, maybe you can get the kind of understanding of the Bible, but you cannot feel it, right? Some are really gifted on poetry, and some are really gifted on telling stories. Some are really gifted in logical understanding. So everybody is different, right? So with my cultural background, and I don't get a lot of. So let's base on I'm really comfortable with the narrative, like stories. And just think about when you go to outside the world, and then a lot of countries, and they don't have the letters and alphabet, and they don't have the kind of Western education. So that's following really focus on logic. And there is a way that you can approach to tell the story. Tell them story. So nowadays in missions, they developed storytelling. So you don't have to follow, maybe follow the logic, but try to Bible, the content of the Bible, make a story, and then try to tell them in each way that they can understand, right? There is a kind of different approach to teach the Bible in missions. But today, so we're gonna learn about the wisdom and poetry and the literature genres, and then today I just picked one. The Psalm from the Psalm. The Psalm is it's a song, and really different. But before we jump into the poetry, understanding of the poetry, and let's kind of go over the basic principle that helps you understand the text. Look at this. Usually, poem is kind of there is a structure. I don't know whether you guys know a lot of poems, but I'm not a poem person. But there is a poem structure. It's a first line, it's a line level, and couplet level, and stanza level. So just think about one line is line level. They put together two lines, put together a couplet level, and then and whole this one is put together. We call the stanza, right? Stanza level. So the poem is kind of composed in this way, usually, right? So just the line level is a single line of the biblical poetry, sometimes called a stitch, might or might not be a complete sentence. So sometimes even though there's not complete sentence, and then they follow their rhythms. So just remember that, right? And even it is not a complete sentence, that it completed by the second line, or rarely by the third line. So just we read English, and then we cannot see much, but we cannot see how it can be kind of lined, right? But if you read the Psalm, and then usually try to follow the structure, but that's why this line is first person, but you can know that to the Psalm 1, and then we can see later, right? And then one and just one line and the other line is there. That's why when you put together, and then you can completely understand like this, what he said. So remember that all the time it's not a complete sentence in line, but yeah, it was the sentence is completed by the second line or third line. And complete level is the basic building blocks of Hebrew poetry is the complete also called D-stitch or bicolor. This consists of two contiguous lines or relate to each other's by form or by content. So, and they are related, okay? That's what we call, and they said D-stitch or bicolor, and we call the couplet level, right? And usually each verse number in English version of the psalm is a Hebrew poetic couplet, more rarely a triplet. So usually they put couplet, but sometimes English version and you can see the Psalm 1, but little bit different in what? Another is kind of 1 line, 2 line, 3 lines put together, to make sense. But that's rarely. So poetic analysis designed the 2 lines of the couplet on A line and 9b, and what's the fundamental figure of the Hebrew poetry is a parallelism. It's a parallel. You can understand what it means in Psalm 1, so we can see that one. And parallelism and matching structure of the line within a couplet. So you see, if you see the Psalm 1, and there's a blessed one, blessed the man and the wicked man. It's kind of different, right? And you can see that one. So remember that usually couplet level is kind of parallel, consists by what? Parallelism and matching structure of the line with the couplet, right? Couplet, lines. What about stanza? Stanza is a all these like a paragraph, and just even there is 6 lines and 3 couplet levels, and but it's 3 couplet levels in this picture is 1 stanza, right? Poem is like 2, 3, 4 standards, get it together and make a poem, right? Was a standard, sometimes called the strophe, group of the couplet that constitute a sense unit within a poem. So it is the poetic equivalent of the paragraph, right? Stanza can be recognized by figures of poem as recognized by figures of poem as well as contents. So sometimes, they standardize what? You can see, this is about this one. And you can see the kind of poetic kind of structure, and otherwise you can see the kind of the content is a little bit different from the other paragraph and other paragraphs, the other paragraphs, right? So the transition from the one stanza to next can be marked by such a thing as the changes in speaker or addresses, the use of the word as signal, logical or temporal transitions, and changes in verbal form from the imperative to the past tense. So there is a lot of different different way to make a transit from stanza to stanza. So maybe it's more clear if we know the original language, Hebrew, but even though we don't know the Hebrew, and then based on the they try to translate based on the original text, so we can still see a little bit, but we don't, we can't feel the kind of, we cannot feel the feeling that the original authors tried to deliver, right? So there is some Hebrew poetry's functions and metrical patterns and parallelism, and also they use a poetic language or imagery, and then they use a different way to express their feeling and their idea and thought, right? And the metrical pattern is a helps the reader to gain some feel for Hebrew poetry, and structured by stress was syllabus count. And the meaning delivers more by the word than the part. Whole than the part. So even though they follow certain form, you gotta count the word and then like a line and whatever, but metrical pattern is the what? When you understand that one, that was really they wanna send the message what? In whole, the poem, not by the kind of line by line. So sometimes we really emphasize on just a line and we cannot lose a whole, right? So always the metrical patterns focus on the whole, right? Whole, not the partial, partial stuff. And then parallelism is kind of synonymous parallelism, and some, because maybe you can see it and then look at this and steps, synthetic parallelism to develop the thought in which the second line added the idea to the first, and then some who consider, and then some on three and climatic parallelism, several unit build thought to a climax, right? They have a kind of different kind of the parallelism is there, but language-wise a little bit complicated, and then but you can see how they use the parallelism, right? And there's an antithetical parallelism using the kind of contrast. You can problem 31, whether maybe you can use you can see the parallelism this one in Psalm 1 too. Antithetical parallelism. They use kind of sometimes figurative language, and then sometimes metaphors like we can see today, and like synonym trees and like a tree by the planted by the river, and then today is that is a kind of figurative language, and sometimes it's not the meaning is not the straightforward, but use a different thing and then try to deliver the message, right? And when you see the different type of poetry in the Bible, sometimes a word song in Exodus, and then sometimes love songs, the songs of songs, and then lamentation, lament, and hymns or praise song in Psalms, and thanksgiving hymns in Psalms, and songs of celebration and affirmation, and then wisdom and didactic psalms, and then that is the Psalm 1 that we're gonna study together. So a lot of different ways that you could see that the different form, but they try to celebrate, and they try to teach, and they try to get the wisdom, and kind of express your sorrow feeling. different kind of poetries in the Bible. So again, if you are just focus on the content, and you might not feel what they try to say, right? Just think about it when you try to understand someone's idea, someone's thought, and just if you say, just think about their expression, right? Nonverbal expression. Sometimes you could see facial expressions, right? And it helps you to understand the degree of what, the communication, right? And if you just think about, if you don't see anything and just hear, and then maybe you can get some idea, but you cannot feel it, right? It's not that effective. So there is some principle for the biblical poetry. It's not the literature genre in general, but this is hermeneutic principle for the biblical poetry. So note that the strophic, strophic, we already understand the patterns of the poem and hymns. So how they change it. So see the kind of content and structure. And then group, there is the kind of parallelism line and group parallel line, and pay attention to that part, and then study the metaphorical language. Sometimes like why they use the tree, right? And why they use the and what is it? And sheep. Why use if you read the Psalm 23, and then they use the Lord is my shepherd. Why he uses the Lord is kind of compared to a shepherd, right? Like this. And then note the historical background of the Psalms, and usually, and when you open the Bible, they give the kind of, it's about one. Like David, kind of escaped from the war, his son Absalom. And this poem is about, repentance from the, happening with Bathsheba, right? Like this, there's kind of this is Thanksgiving. There's a basic title is there, but still, if you go to, and there's kind of, there's a lot of footnote, and if you go back to the story and then see the kind of all what's going on in the Bible, and you can see the other resources, and then kind of you can ready to read the poem, or you're ready to read it to understand the content, and really, the understanding of the background really makes you enriching understanding of the text, right? The study Psalms in terms of the types and basic stance, okay? And already we said a different kind of types, and Thanksgivings, and sometimes lament, and sometimes the victory in the world. So we said different things. So you want to remember that one, and study the Messianic Psalms in the terms of the historical purpose, before nothing there as the logical import. And in that, we try to understand the Bible, so from Genesis to Revelation with one thing. There's a we call redemptive interpretation. So in each period, God tried to reveal about the Jesus Christ. Who is Jesus Christ coming up? If you see the Isaiah in Old Testament period, and then look at the Isaiah 53 and about that one. And if you read another part, still a lot of kind of implication. The word is coming out related to Jesus Christ, and then that's why they try to put together, and then this is an emblem of Jesus Christ. This is a kind of a pre-shadow of Jesus Christ. That's why they put together, and wow, this is a theme that kind of running through in the Bible, and they try to understand the Bible that way. That's why we say that, historical purpose, but nothing eschatological mean that even though they don't think about the last, the day of the Jesus, when Jesus coming back, and then what happened at the end time. So they don't talk, even though they don't talk about it, but still, there is messianic songs, right? And if study songs as a whole before the drawing conclusion, okay? I already, this is related to the context, though, right? When you read the Bible and then understand the context, right? Some parallelism and some was metrical, and metrical patterns, and see that it's not really emphasized on the word count and structure, but that is a kind of follow their how to write the poem, how to write the song, right? This is one of the pattern that the poem, poet kind of used at the time. So that is the same. So I don't know whether you guys listen to a lot of songs, and then nowadays it's a Christian songs. They had a kind of certain pattern as well. Whereas the first praise, and they usually kind of a little bit calm down, and then second is a little bit, and there's a chorus part, the refrain part, and then they sing really hard and repeat, and loud and repeat and together, and like the chorus part, and then another one. They kind of have a pattern. So now it's always use a lot of the same patterns, and then I think it's the same thing, right? Same thing. So try to consider whole, right? So look at this. So New Testament poetry like Mary's prayer, and Mary's song after was the Gabriel, the angel, Gabriel, the angel, stopped by Mary and then talked about the Jesus Christ who is in her womb, and then she made a song. And like that, the New Testament poetry must be studied on two levels: original theological meaning and the use of what created hymns in the individual context. So, all the time, so they recite the past songs, right? It means that they kind of cite the Old Testament songs, and you're going to understand the what in the whole Old Testament context, and then what is the theological meaning, and then how they got the poem, or kind of cited in their was the use of the creed or hymn in individual context. So try to understand that one. So basically, even though there is a lot of types of the poetry. We gotta respect the kind of types, and each different types and kind of a different way to kind of deliver the message, right? But one thing is that they want to say something, right? But they use a different way, right? They use a different way, but based on the what? Kind of the poetry. They use the type of poetry, right? But when you understand the poetry, just think about wholes. It's not a line level, not a couple level, not a what? A standard level. But see the whole, right? And then understand before you go to conclusion or what it's about. I want to introduce one of your kind of interesting structure. It's a triadic structure. Usually use a poem, I don't know, in this way, and then there is a triadic structure, and just think about these techniques and skills, how to deliver the message, right? And maybe they could use a different way, but they use we call the triadic structure, and then look at this and Bible story, and it's really interesting. And this structure is that God created the universe, okay, and then called Abraham, blessing the nation of through his seed, and then wow, they went to the Moses and the Exodus law and creation of Israel, and right, and then David, who is the what? King who reigned over Israel, right? And then through the David's descendant, what? Christ came and then tried to make what? Reconcile with God, right? That is a kind of continuation, and then that Jesus Christ become a king and what, like reigned the whole world like a king, as a ascension to the throne, and compare with this David, and then kind of Moses and the what, and started a new community. They get out of the Egypt and got out of the Egypt, and then they build up a new community, Israel, right? And then like this, the Pentecost, when the Holy Spirit came down, and the church came out, right? Early church started like this, and then through the Pentecost, and then Israel, there was a restoration of Israel by the 12s, and then they sent out, and especially for the Paul, and he joined what? The 12 later, and then one of the 12 later, and then he reached out to the Gentiles like this, and then just think about how blessing of the whole nation through the mission to the all nations through, and the Bible is kind of, if you see the Act and the Paul's the letters, and then you can see how gospel is expressed over the region to get beyond the Jerusalem, and Judea and Samaria and Jerusalem, right? And Samaria and on other area. So if you see the last book of the Bible, and then the Revelation, and we going through the Christians are going through a lot, and at the end of the book have a new heaven and earth, new creation when Christ is returned. That is and the chaotic structure. So cultivation is a creation kind of compared, but this is is Christ's life, death, and resurrection. It's a kind of culmination of the Bible. And that's why Jesus, God prepared the whole thing through the world. About 2,000 years in 4,000 years in years from Abraham to David, Moses, David, and Jesus, and Joseph to Jesus, right? And after Jesus Christ died, and then after he's still be a king and reign over and ascension to God and churches, new community started here, and bring the gospel to the world, and then we're gonna have a new creation. That's a kind of compare. So first and last, A and A, C and B and B and C and C dash, and then they compare them. That's a chaotic structure. And usually see that what is the middle, the E is what they really want to say. What they really want to say is this one, E. Really emphasize this, right? Let's see. This is not. I'm not trying to pipe. So yeah, I kind of organized this with someone, so let's go back then. Let's go back. Okay. Because I raised so I'm gonna let you know the line and what's a couplet and what's and the standards, and then okay. I'm gonna read the Bible, this one. I cannot open the internet, so I don't know what happened. Last time I did, and I got it. Okay, let me use my Bible phone. I'm trying to build the structure that we learned. That's why I want to use that one. So yeah, I just, let me see, do I have one, original one? Let me compare. Yeah, here is a line. Okay? Can you sit down? Bless the man who walks, not stands, not stands, not sit, and not with the wicked, sinners, and scoffers. But bless the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked. This is a line in the Bible. Right? Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked. And then another line says, no stand in the way of the sinners, no sit in the seats of the scoffers. This is another line. And then this is a couplet. Blessed the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, no stands in the way of the sinners, no sit in the seat of the scoffers. That is one idea. That's about what? Bless the man. But verse 2 here. But he delights in the what? That is kind of a different version. In the Torah of the Jehovah, but that is a different version. But in the law of the Lord, which he meditates what? And he meditates day and night. This is another kind of a couplet, right? And look at this. The righteous are like a tree planted by the rivers of the water that brings forth its fruit in each season, and whose leaves also does not wither. And whatever he does shall prosper. The wicked are not wicked are like chaff, which is window drives away. The contrast between the righteous and that's what it's kind of And 5, and the wicked shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners counted among the congregation. And Jehovah regards the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked shall perish. Let me see. Okay, you can see that one. Someone can analyze this with someone is here, like with the triadic structure. And then he said that was a contrast between the verse 1, verse 2, and then he said that, and the contrast between the righteous and the wicked. And there was blessed the man who is not, and then what? But, but his delight in the Torah, the law of the Lord in which he meditates day and night. There is a kind of contrast of what? Righteous and wicked. There is no word wicked, but still, who is the wicked? Right? You can imagine that one, right? If you are wicked, and we just stand sinners, scoffers, and what? And you stands in what? They are the wicked, right? But righteous people is not with them, but what? But he delights in the law of the Lord in which he meditates day and night. There is a kind of contrast there. And then another one all the way down, he said, and then what? Let me develop deeper, and the righteous are like a tree planted by the river of the water. Right? And brings forth its fruit in season. And planted tree, and there is no drought, always water is available, because the trees need water to grow and to bear fruit, right? Nutrition. And then what? And he said that the central axis is cultivation is what? Whose leaves also does not wither. What does mean that? Wither mean that. That's all. Trees die. yeah, I bought a plant at Costco, so the smell was really good. And gardenia, something like that, and then it smells good, so it's really wide and it was cheap, so I bought it, yeah, at the Costco. And I bring it, that tree is tropical, right? And then I brought it, and then it was during the summertime, I brought it home, and during the summertime, and then I had to water a lot every other day. If I forget it, if I went outside and then what, so already withered. And then if I water them again, and then they revive like that. And then it's kind of hectic. I try to transfer bigger pot, and then maybe I can give them water twice a week or once a week. And then I got a big pot and transfer, and then yeah, though plant is not planted in the underground, but if you think about underground, I have a sprinkler system. Every night water comes out, and yeah, they can get the water, and they never gonna get withered, right? But I put I wanna grow them big, and then I wanna kind of keep them small and decent size, and yeah, so I want to keep the plant in the pot, and so I transfer bigger pot, and in the beginning, so I watered a lot because I just transferred, and then there's a tropical, and then it means that the watering is so we got a really good drain from the soil. So I just use a regular soil that I have, and then transfer a bigger pot, and then when I just transfer, I give them water. But I don't count the side of the pot, and then pot side, and then I give them water too often. Do you know what happened? But the drainage is not good, and still hold a lot of water. The soil holds a lot of water, and then starting decaying to the root. I didn't know. It's kind of maybe the leaves turned yellow, and then I look up, and then maybe in season 2, the dropping the leaves, and then grow and like this, and then okay, and then I don't think about it and give them water and keep giving water, and what happened? I found out that I think one day I kind of take out the plant from the pot. It's too much water. It's already late. So, but with the hope, I transferred a little smaller pot and try to make a better drainage, and then put in the pot. But since like in the morning I checked out it, a couple of days ago, and then I checked it still. I cut all dead trees, dead branches, but still some are okay. But I checked out this morning, and then every branch is kind of the left because it was okay, but dry, kind of dry, and the plant is kind of withered. It means that there is no flower anymore, right? I hope that still some root survive and then grow back, but I don't think so. That is kind of cultivate in this poem, in his analysis. The leaves does not wither means that always prosper, and then live, and then can get fruit and flower and fruit in seasons. And then he said, whatever he does shall prosper. That's what? Prosper means what? Shall prosper means that he matches with what? The brings forth its fruit in season. Right? And he matches, and then kind of prosper, and I mean one of the signs of putting forth the fruit. If you not prosper, the trees not prosper, they cannot bear fruit. maybe even though they have a lot of leaves, and sometimes they use all nutrition for the leaves, and then they cannot bear the fruit. But anyway, and the wicked are not like a chaff which the wind drives away. The kind of contrast is here. Wicked in the what the righteous. Righteous are like the tree planted by the river of the water, and the wicked is a chaff. Just think about the grain, and then if you have an inside fully and filled in the grain, and just during the harvest time, you like the rice. Yeah, everybody know the rice, and then if you go then rice bed, and then you can in time and harvest, and then you can see not every rice kind of fully and ripen, and some of them, and you try to take away the nothing inside of the rice chaff, right? That's why they separate the good one is nothing bad, bad one. So use a lot of machine and different, maybe if you grow different culture, and then you can see different way that they can separate good one and bad one, right? And bad one is there's no inside in the rice, and good one is rice, the inside's there. And then that is called chaff. And then wheat dough is they use a lot of fan, they use a different machine that they developed, and usually long time ago they used a kind of fan that by manual, and then to take away from the chaff, right? And then mean that this is useless, even though it seems like it's a food, it's like a fruit, but it's useless, nothing inside. And then take away, maybe throw it and they can use them as a fertilizer, and otherwise throw them away, right? Kind of a comparison, right? And contrast between here, so he analyzed verse 1, 2, and he's 5, 6. Contrast between the righteous and the wicked. The wicked shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners count among the congregation. The Lord regards the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked perish. Can you see? The wicked cannot stand, and the Lord regards the way of the righteous, but the way of there's he see that the kind of the verse 5, 6, and the 1, 2 is it's a contrast the wicked and the righteous, and then put together, and then he understands with the Psalm 1 is a chaotic, chiastic structure. So his core axis and cultivation is the leaves also does not wither, always survive life, like this one. We was perish, but it's not perish, right? That is a structure. That have you thought about understanding it in that way? I never, but I opened my eyes when I teach about the principle of hermeneutics, the principle of biblical hermeneutics. That's why I found that one, and then wow, it's different. But sometimes they analyze in a way, but sometimes I don't agree with the message that some try to deliver. Right? That's the kind of but maybe the author and the focus was who's live does not wither, mean I'm always alive, and there's a season for fruit and flower, and then all kind of stuff about sometimes weak to deliver the whole message if you see this one, but if you see whole context of the poem, and then maybe you can explain more, and then you can kind of rationalize your analysis by, there is one of your analysis about chiastic structure, right? But if you see the another books, and then it's a kind of same, but it's not exactly the same. But I want to introduce the analysis, because they're a little bit different, but there is a similarities there, right? And that one is from this one, biblical, world biblical commentary, and then here is the usually Bible said, blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked. That's one line. Nor stand in the way of a sinner, nor sit in the seat of scoffers. This is a couplet, right? And makes sense. And then who is the blessed man? Blessed man is a blah 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 blah. And then what is it? Another couplet is here. But delight in the law of the Lord, and on what? And on his law he meditates day and night. There is a kind of what is a wicked man? What is a blessed man? Right? There is one of this is a stanza. Another stanza came over here. He is like a tree planted by the stream of water that yields its fruit season, right? And there's and can you see the another one? There is a tree and line as couplet, and then all the way third line, and its leaves does not wither. In all that he does, he prospers. The wicked are not so, but are like chaff that the wind drives away. Therefore, this is another standard. The wicked will not stand in the judgment. There's a line, and no sinners in the congregation of the righteous. That's a couplet, and another couplet is there. For the Lord knows the way of the righteous, and the way of the wicked will perish. And the author is kind of divided like this. 1, 2, verse 1 and 2 is A, and verse 3 is another kind of, he put the B, and verse 4 is like this, and verse 4 is the wicked not so, but like a chaff is kind of a B dash, and verse 3 is kind of a planted a little bit. Do you know the what is a plant? The parallelism is between the tree and chaff, right? The tree and chaff, and then the result is totally different, right? That's why the middle, he didn't show the middle, but he's kind of a divide. This one is a parallel, and right? The 5, therefore the wicked now stand in the judgment, and then sinners congregation, and right? No. Sorry. Okay, look at this. Which one is kind of repeated? Can you see any parallelism in this one? Right? Wicked and what? The righteous. Right? And what else? We cannot see the kind of figurative word was a tree and chaff. Right? So what words are kind of the repeated in the words that we already except the words that we mentioned. Just focus on the walks not in the second answer, but not stand in the way of the sinners. Wicked what? Not stand in the judgment. And there's a parish is kind of a contrast with what? It's the same word, but it's not reader, parish is the same, right? And kind of this one is contrasted, withered and prospered. And prosper means that you're kind of paralyzed, you yield its fruit. So even though we can see it's not that hard to understand, and you can see who is righteous, who is wicked. Can you see the righteous man? Oh, we can see the verse 1 and 2. Who is the righteous man? And who is the blessed man and who is the wicked? Blessed man is kind of, he doesn't follow the wicked way. Why is he following the wicked way? It's what? Walk in the counsel of the wicked. They plot something bad, right? Always hurt others and steal other stuff, and then always they are thinking bad way and kind of plot to do something bad in bad way. But the blessed man doesn't follow that way, walk in that way, and the what? And stands the sinner's way. He's against God's way, the direction of God, the way of God's way, right? But sit in the seat of scoffers. Who's the scoffers? Kind of sinners, who is very arrogant, who just and believe in themselves, no God, is really arrogant, haughty. Sit in the scoffers means that they don't get along with them, right? That's the blessed man. But it's not that one though. It's not just that one is kind of we consider kind of moral aspect. Right? But if you see that not just the moral aspect, but we consider the relationship with God. But he delights, he's really have joy in what? The law of the Lord. He likes he loves God's word. He will always think about and try to walk with it. Then it's not, the blessed man, it's not kind of just, okay, I have to love the word of God, I have to read the word of God, and I have to study, and I have to know. It's not there. But look at this. I want to a little bit more engage in God's word, and then meditate on his law day and night. Okay, read the word of God, not just reading. Meditate what it is, think about what it means. And stand down, sit down and what? Try to listen to God. Meditate and think about it over and over, ponder what it means and what God really trying to teach us. Can you see that the righteous man? He's really, the blessed man, he's really righteous. But he loves God. He follows God's way. He obeys God's word, right? That's why there is figurative language is a tree, similarly, or a tree planted by the stream of water. That's another grammatical word is similarly, a tree. He's like a tree planted by the stream of water. And just think about how he's going to be. The blessed man. Prosper, right? And there is a comparison but wicked not so, but like a chaff that drives away. Useless, wicked are useless. It's not in the law. So really good. They cannot be in the good, right? And just away. Therefore, this is the conclusion, right? Look at this another contrast. Wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners congregation of the righteous. What? The wicked will, he's going to get judged. He cannot escape from the judgment. Right? Maybe sometimes by the law of government, but eventually by God. Sinners too. Right? Sinners too. No sinners in the congregation of the right. You cannot be together. Sinners cannot be together because if sinners in the righteous congregation, he can kind of stick out. Everybody knows he's not doing good. He's not a good man. So the Lord knows the way of the righteous, acknowledge them and bless them, right? Through the verse 3. But the way of wicked will perish. So this one we call the introduction of the psalm. So what did the author try to say in this chapter 1? What did he try to say? He used the word similar like a tree and chaff, right? And he described the characteristic of the righteous and the wicked of the righteous. The characteristic of the wicked. What is the purpose of this psalm? That is you need to catch it, right? We need to catch it. So just think about whole things, and then I don't want to really focus on the one word or phrase and one line or one couplet or one kind of stanza. Just think about each stanza here and here and here. What is the first stanza? What's the second stanza? What's the third stanza? How can you put together? How can you summarize in your first stanza? For me, like the characteristic of the righteousness, and not the blessed man. Characteristic of the blessed man. And by what? Morality and by faith. Kind of faith means they kind of honoring God and serving God and worship God, right? I don't want just a religion, say the religion. What about the second standards? The result of the what? The blessed man and wicked man. Right? How their life is like that. Maybe you can say that, what if the wicked, who are not Christians, they are really blessed. They made a lot of money and wealth, and then they have power, and they want to do whatever they want to do. They create a social injustice. They take advantage of the systems, and they make a lot of money. How can you say that? They are prosperous. They are like a tree planted by the stream of water. Maybe you think in the way, but still, life is not all about current time, current age that we are living. We are hope, like the Thessalonians. We are hoping what? The day of the Lord, Jesus Christ coming back. That's the hope for the Christians. If you don't have a hope, this hope, you don't believe the gospel. And the verse 5 and 6, third standard said the judgment. What is the judgment? They're going to face God's judgment, and then they're not going to be in the righteous people, among the righteous people. Right? Meaning that they are separated from his people. And just think about characteristic, and then the result of their life, and then what is the final judgment of the wicked and righteous. Yeah, this is the introductory of the Psalms, and just to know that, and if you are person, human being, see which one is learn the wisdom from this one. Learn the wisdom of this one. This song. What is the wisdom? What is the wisdom? Wisdom is what? This wisdom is not about how much you make money, how work hard to make money, how achieve in your life. It's not a wisdom. That's the way of the world. That's the way that people are pursuing who don't know God. But if you know the wisdom, life, and then who are you gonna fear? God or the world? Yeah, that's why they try to say that. Remember, this life is not all about your life. There is another things coming. And even though in the beginning your life is everything is kind of straightforward and prosperous, and then nothing worry about anything, and but still nothing to worry about, but still remember, if you are not righteous in God's eye, what are you going to face? Right? That's the wisdom. That's the author tried to say. And he used a lot of different, he used a parallelism, contrast, right? And parallelism and contrast. That's a kind of way that introduced, kind of deliver the message that he used kind of structure. That's a poem. I don't know, how, if you really like a poem and if you like your poetry, and then maybe you can have an idea and then you can use it, but I'm not a person, of poetry, and then, but still, even though I don't feel the delicacy of the poetry from this psalm, and just I can see who are the wise and who are the wise in God's eye. Okay, this is a possible lessons here, and then maybe just a fear of the Lord is a wisdom. This is the kind of who fears. You fears people, and you fears the world. If you fears the Lord, and think about how you're supposed to do. Try to know God more day by day, and try to sit down, right? And then try to listen to Him. Reading the Bible every day, and try to listen to Him, and try to obey to Him. Because He teaches you. God teaches you. And that's the way that God is not pleased with the way of the wicked. The first one. You don't think the bad way. You don't think, you don't with the sinners. Right way. You don't get hang around with them. You don't follow the sinner's way. That is one of the main learning from this psalm, right? So most people, they are saying about this introductory of the psalm, but still, who is white? Learn wisdom from this verse, and then go and go and go on. So what else you can learn from this one? This is the main things, and try to show the kind of teach about wisdom of life. But what else you can learn from these verses? We're gonna know that 5, 6. I already told you this life is not all about our life. Okay? One thing is this life is not all about. If you see that someday we're gonna stand before God, and we're gonna God's gonna tell what we have done, what we have done. We're gonna face the God's judgment, whether you are Christian or not, and we're gonna face the judgment. Paul said it in Romans. So remember that, and there is a Christian. That's why Christians always think about responsibility of their life. Shouldn't become like the non-Christians, right? I know we cannot be perfect like what God said. You become with what God said, but still become like what we are. But still count the responsibility for our life. What else? What about the second stanza? What can you learn from? How can you learn how can we evaluate people, not judging, evaluate people? How can we evaluate people? By their fruit that they produce. Mean that how they think, how they behave, and what is the consequence of their actions. Mean that the result of the actions, their work. Right? If you are a blessed man, if you are a Christian, we supposed to be like a tree planted by the stream of water. But we needed to know that our perspective needed to be changed. We always think that who have wealth and rich and who have fame, and we think that they are blessed. They are material blessing. We cannot deny from the Bible. But it's not blessing, it's not all about it. There is another, so even though you don't have a lot, even though you struggle with the life to make your need, but still you could be blessed by God because you know God and you serve God in your capacity. Everybody has different gifts given by God, right? We are the steward. So don't look at yourself and don't look others by how much they have in terms of wealth and then in terms of fame. We can have a different fruit, right? But I want you to have the right motivation, not like Ricky. And even though the result comes out bad, but still we need the right motivation. So our standard is prosperity. It's not like ordinary standard, right? So I like the song The Blessing by Laura Story. It's really, I like that. Sometimes your blessing to the suffering comes from what if your blessing to the suffering, sometimes your blessing to your tears. So just think about one other thing is that, right? Even though we don't be like we don't meet the ordinary standard in terms of the wealth and fame, but still we are like a tree planted by the stream of water because we are walking with God and we are following God's way, right? Don't see the world don't see yourself with your ordinary standard. Your grade is maybe if you are student and grades matter, or get a job and get a for going to graduate school and like that, but still it's not all about it. So any question about the blessed man that you the Psalm from 1? So I want to just introduce how you analyze and then different way, and then how what they kind of technique then they use, and parallelism and different kind of parallelism, right? And yeah, so remember that they have different types of the poetry and different function of the kind of parallelism like that, right? But still, they parallelize, meaning that they parallel to use a parallelism, and then they want to compare what? Emphasis is not the what? Weak, not the bad one, right? Like this, and the emphasis is what? Like blessed man. It's not a weak man, right? So you gotta know that one. So usually, try to emphasize the blessed man, and try to emphasize and put side of things, and that's why they use parallelism. And big key, like blessed man and weak. What's the result? It's a tree and sharp. Check, right? It's a different though. Maybe you guys have another insight for this analysis, but I try to see the whole, not like word by word. That's why I don't analyze and this one and like Thessalonians and First Thessalonians and hey, why is this one? But we can see because this is a simple, and we can see what is the whole picture of those this poetry, right? Got it? So if you have any insight, then just let me know. Try to look at this one and other, and you can see the online and maybe respect their analysis, but maybe they a little bit different, right? We gotta acknowledge the difference. They have a different insight, but only way they can see that how they study, and then what is how they analyze and with what is really important. Okay, you guys, and then I hope that you are really blessed in this life. I want you guys to be like a tree planted by the water stream, right? And yield a lot of fruit in each season. Every season is different, right? So you compare the fruit in each season, and then you can know that who you are. And through that, people gonna know God. Right? That's glorifying God. People acknowledge God through your life and through your fruit that you bear. Right? That's a blessing. And next week we're gonna study about John. This is another rhetorical genre. There's a literature genre, and then literature genre is we call the narrative. There's a story. Stories can be it's a little bit different. We need a little bit different approach from the poetry, but still we gotta know the whole story. So don't focus on too much the detailed stuff, but try to see what author tried to say in the story. Just think about it. And if you are a storyteller, and then you can use a lot of different aspects of stories. Sometimes you can make up to understand it better, and then sometimes you're gonna make it interesting, or sometimes make kind of excited, and then sometimes make happy, and then you can use a lot of different ways. Sometimes develop more, sometimes erase, and you can use a different things to make these stories better, and then a lot of different ways. So we're gonna the last class, right? And then we didn't, basically if we, I don't touch about prophecy and kind of apocalypse about the books, and then maybe next time if we have a chance, and the books is a lot of symbolic words, and then and figurative words, and then we can you can see that one, but still maybe we don't have a chance. Maybe if you have if you have a chance, and maybe you could learn and through reading and through watching others video in the YouTube. You can see that.